So today we are starting with how do we know that historians are using which kind of sources for history? This is a question. What sources do historians use in writing about last 250 years of Indian history? Let me just quickly admit everyone. There are some students who are joining now. Everybody has joined here now. Shall I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So now,
Ma'am.
here, children, if you look at your textbook, the screen is visible to everyone with the sources.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Children, when you look at this textbook sample of the source one is, it is some sample we have taken of a report to the Home Department. In 1946, the colonial government in India was trying to put down a mutiny that broke out on the ships of the Royal Indian Navy. Here is a sample of the kind of reports the Home Department got from the different dockyards. So some kind of a rebellion was going on during that time in 1946, because anyways the colonial rule was about to leave India after the elections in 1946, and in 1947 we have got our independence. So during those times we have a different new kinds of sources of history. So look at how this source is giving a report about what was going on in Bombay. Arrangements have been made for the army to take over ships and establishment. Royal Navy ships are remaining outside the harbor. This is a news in the newspaper, in the report. Then in Karachi, what is the situation like? 301 mutineers are under arrest and a few more strongly suspected are to be arrested. All establishments are under military guard. Similarly, Visakhapatnam means Vishakhapatnam. The position is completely under control and no violence has occurred. Military guards have been replaced on ships and establishments. No further trouble is expected, except that a few men may refuse to work. So children, here you can see these reports from the newspapers. In the old time, no newspapers were there. So a historian, when he's looking and analyzing these reports, so it gives them the historians some idea about how the mutiny mutiny broke all across India against the Royal Navy, in the Royal Navy. Okay, and based on these sources, which are reliable sources, which are based on some information and events that have happened, so the historian will write history about the series of events that happened. So this is something which is new compared to the old sources of history. Okay, so here we have administration produces records. So when administration of a country is happening, so some kind of official records are there, some instructions, plans, policies, decision making, agreements, investigations, all these are written down and they are kept as important records. So we had these kind of records. So historians, they can make use of these sources for writing history. And during the British time, during the time of the Britishers, they felt that all important documents and letters needed to be carefully preserved. So they set up a record room attached to all administrative institutions. The village tehsildar's office, the collectorate office, the commissioner's office, the provincial secretariats, and the law courts all had their record rooms. Specialized institutions like archives, you already are aware that Archives of India is an institution, it's a big government department which has all the old newspapers which were published in India. And also we have historical museums also, where you can go and you can see the specimens of some different type. Even if you go to the Delhi Museum or many other museums in India, you can find many historical things, material remains, some kind of manuscripts, inscriptions, coins are visible. So they give us some information about the history. Okay, and historians base their writings on these sources. Letters and memos that move from one branch of administration to another is another example. People are sending letters or writing reports or writing a story about certain incident. So these all become sources of history. Similarly, in the early years of 19th century, so here children, I'm talking about the early 19th century, These documents were very carefully copied out and beautifully written by calligraphists. That is, by those who specialized in the art of beautiful writing, because during those times there was no proper use of the printing press. So they used to make these records handwritten records. By the middle of the 19th century, with the spread of printing press, multiple copies of these records were printed as proceedings of each government department. So all these become a source of history. Here, this is the National Archives of India. It came into being in which year? Which year it came into being?
1920.
1920. Please remember that this is a very, very important institution. It is a very, very important government department where it has most of the old written and printed sources of history, and they are being used by the historians. So when it is built in New Delhi, the National Museum and the National Archives are both located to the Viceregal Palace. The location reflects the importance of these institutions that was there in the minds of the British people. Okay, similarly, now we come to surveys. As I was telling you, children, that when the Britishers came to India, they were mainly also they were doing some kind of a research work. What kind of a research work? You already know a lot of deforestation was going on during that time. Why the deforestation? And they were implementing something which was known as plantation. If I tell you to, if I ask you what plantation means, you can easily tell me that plantations are like tea and coffee plantations. So some specialized commercial crops were encouraged, and these forests were there. There was a massive deforestation done in many of the forest areas and in India, and specialized crops were grown because they had a commercial use. They had some profit making could be there by the Britishers. These were known as plantations. Similarly, in India, there was a there were trees which provided durable timber, like the sal trees or the teak trees, and the timber of these trees was useful in building ships and also laying this railway tracks. You also know that Britishers have a big role to play in the Indian railways. So this led to a lot of deforestation, change in the lives of the tribal people. Also here, a survey, how a survey becomes important. They used to find out, they used to go inside the forest and find out and research on the various species of plants and animals. So now why they were doing this research? To find out which particular species of plants are useful from commercial point of view, and they will only encourage the growing of such plants, species of plants, and that is known as a plantation. So they also set up in the year 1906, they also set up the in Dehradun, they set up the Imperial Research Institute for doing the research work on these plants. So they also made it certain kind of surveys and research. So when you're doing a research or survey, you obviously you're going to write it down, you are going to document it. So it is another useful source for the historians about whatever research work the Britishers had done. It is another useful source of history for the historians, which is also a news. Okay, similarly, surveys on botanical surveys, botanical which means on plants. Here you can see the picture of a plant here. Okay, then zoological surveys, which is on the animals. Okay, animal hide. Archaeological surveys, which is on mainly on the monuments of India. You already know how when the Britishers were laying a line in the Sindh region, and how Harappa, the city of Harappa, was discovered by the British officers. Okay, and anthropological surveys is the evolution of the mankind. They have found out many burials and many skeletal remains in many of the sites in India. Just like you have in Madhya Pradesh, many sites are there in Madhya Pradesh where skeletal remains are being found, and these are useful for some kind of a study and research. So all these sources of history became useful for the contemporary historians, and they could base their writings on them. Similarly, forest surveys, as I've already. So now we have surveys, we have administrative documents, similarly official records. What do they do not tell? So when we're talking about the official records, administrative records, they don't tell us something like what was the life of people like, what was the life of the common man like. Okay, official records they are just documents of how things are happening. Yes, anybody has a query? I can hear something. Akanksha, you have a query here? Your mic is on. Okay. So when we're talking about what official records do not tell, from the various vast corpus of records, we can get to know a lot, but we must remember that these are official records. They tell us what the officials thought and what they were interested in. So here you have certain images here. Here mapping and survey operations are going on in Bengal. So they are measuring the land here to find out what is the extent of land. Similarly, in the beginning of the lesson, I told you how these maps of India was being made to find out an estimate of the land so that they can fix the revenue and the taxes on the farmers. Okay, so these pictures give you a glimpse of information how these records were being made, which was later on used by the historians. Similarly, here the rebels of 1857, this picture tells you images need to be carefully studied for the project, the viewpoint of those who create them. Of course, if you are making a painting, it is your perspective which is visible in the painting, isn't it? So here also this image can be found in several illustrated books produced by the British after the 1857 rebellion. The caption at the bottom says, mutinous sepoys share the loot. In British representations, the rebels appear as greedy, vicious, and brutal. But do you think they were doing that? They were only fighting for their own rights here. If you look at the picture from a historian's point of view. So although if the picture is being analyzed by a British historian, he may look at it from a different perspective. But on the other hand, the same image, if an Indian historian will perceive it in a different manner. Okay, so when you're looking at the official records, they only depict what the writer has to say. Okay, it is his or her own bias and what they wish to preserve for posterity. They want to show something, they want to preserve, and they want to show the coming generation what the truth was, which may be true or which may not be true. These records do not always help us understand what other people in the country felt and what lay behind their actions. I hope this is clear to everyone. Any doubts here, children? Any questions here about the new sources of history? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt?
No.
You can ask a question if you have any doubt. Now, Omkar, quickly tell me the new sources I have just explained for the historians. What are the new sources?
Some images.
Images which is made by the new sources. I'm asking you, what were the new sources created in the 19th century? Yes, Savani Kudke, you can answer. Anybody would like to answer? What are the new sources? I'm explaining this right now in front of you. New sources of history.
Ma'am, old times newspapers.
Old time newspapers, and after the coming of the
documents.
Documents, official documents,
Surveys.
administrative documents, surveys, then botanical surveys, archaeological surveys, then anthropological surveys. All these are new sources of history. Very good. And now I'm covering why the official records are not very useful. Why? Because these official records depict the interest of the person who has written them, isn't it? So jisne likha hai, only that person will write about all the good things about himself or about whatever he is writing. Just like in this picture, the British painter, he's trying to depict that in 1857 revolt, the sepoys were greedy and vicious. So if you look at the picture from the Indian historian's point of view, he was not he may say that the sepoys were rebelling against the British Raj to get their freedom of their country. Okay. Similarly, here, all these sources, however, were produced by those who were literate. Again, those who are uneducated, can they produce some written records? Is it possible? Is it possible for anybody who's not literate or educated? Can they write?
No, ma'am.
Yes, so it is not possible. So again, only the
No,
literate
ma'am.
people are writing, and they have their own biases about the Indian society. So they will write in whatever manner they like. From these, we will not be able to understand how history was experienced and lived by the tribals and the peasants. So the actual common man, what was their plight, we don't get to know by just reading and finding these records. Okay, the workers in the mines or the poor on the streets. Getting to know their lives is far more a difficult task for those times, because we do not have any written records about the lives of the common man. Okay, yet this can be done if we make a little bit of effort. When you read this book, you will see how this can be done. Okay, children, this ends this particular lesson here, history
Excuse me,
lesson
ma'am.
1. Yes,
Ma'am, I have a doubt.
yes, please do ask your doubt.
Ma'am, are the in the 19th century some currencies were introduced in India, so they are the new sources of history?
Yes, definitely. Definitely, it is a new source for historians for analyzing. Even the pictures that are there on the currency notes or on the coins, it depicts something. It depicts about the life. What is inscribed on the coin is definitely a source. It is a material remain again. It is not that we just will focus on the printed or the newspapers or the documents or the archives in the museums, because they are written by certain educated people. We don't know, there could be other material remains also, just like you've mentioned the currency notes. I hope this clears your doubt here. So the overall
Yes,
picture,
ma'am.
the outcome, the conclusion for this lesson is, children, you should look at history from a very, very open mind. You should not follow what is written. You should always question whatever is written by the historians in history, because even a historian, when he is writing history, after analyzing various sources of history, there is a possibility that he or she may have their own bias. For example, a British historian may write the history of India in his own with his own perspective, but on the other hand, a historian from India will write the history of India from his own. Okay, so there is bound to be a difference in these two people. Not only that, there are different categories. Even in India also, there are various other historians who have their own thinking, and based on which they write history. They have their own principles for writing history. So even historians in India may differ, and may have a dispute over a particular event. To give you a very good example, if you have watched this movie about the life of our late Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, how he died. Even in India, also historians have differing views about his death. Yes, so this will give you a clear example on how the historians may differ. And whenever we are studying history, we should look at it with a very, very open mind, that this could have whatever events have happened may have different reasons or different dimensions to the story. I hope this is clear to everyone. Any doubts here, children? We've already
No, ma'am.
done with this lesson, and we've done the activities also of this lesson. Now I will quickly shift to your civics lesson, because we are lagging behind. We don't have much time. So I'll start with your civics lesson. The first civics lesson, I've explained you the reason for a country.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
I will share the recording of this video, and then you will be able to hear me. Okay? Yes?
Ma'am, I shall finish.
You can play the recording again, and then you can hear. Please write your message in the chat if you have any problem. Okay, now I'm going to share another screen with all of you. Okay, I'm going to share you the first lesson of civics now. Okay, am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now is this screen visible to all? In this, the Indian Constitution.
Yes,
This is your
ma'am.
civic.
Yes, ma'am.
Children, we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
already covered the
Yes, ma'am.
introduction of the Indian Constitution. We have already looked at the first section of the civics lesson. Why does a country need a constitution? So we have covered the various reasons. What are the reasons for a country, to adopt a certain constitution? I started off with the explanation on what is a constitution. Constitution is a rule of. It is a book. It's a documented book which has certain rules to govern a country, and these rules are based on the agreement of the people of that country to abide those rules. People themselves agree that we are ready, and these rules are suitable to govern this country. Okay, so I have covered that initially, that part of what is a constitution and why do we need a constitution. And I also covered up in the previous class about the different types of governments, and different types of governments have different types of constitutions. Now, what does a constitution depict? A constitution depicts the ideology, the principles and thinking of that particular country, or the residents of that particular country. For example, if we talk about India, India is a country of so many different communities, people of different religions, different people of different castes. They are living together. So we have a unity in diversity. Okay, so when so many people of different castes and creed are living together, there is bound to be conflicts. People may differ in and have certain disputes over one thing or the other. So in such kind of a country, we need to have a democratic form of a government, isn't it? I explained this to you in my previous class. Okay. Now, any questions from the previous session here, children? I have also shared with you the explanation again. I made the explanation again on the videos, and I shared it with you again. And please don't
Excuse
enter
me,
class.
ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, do all countries have constitution?
Yes, every country has a constitution, but the type of government may differ. Okay, so here when we talk, we'll just quickly look at what are the most important things when we're looking at a constitution. The definition of constitution is it is a set of rules to govern a country based on the ideals and principles that are of the residents of those country and agreed upon by the residents of the country. So first, it lays down certain ideas that form the basis of the kind of country that we as citizens aspire to live in, or put another way, a constitution tells us what a fundamental nature of our society is. We are a homogeneous group of people of different communities and castes. A country is usually made up of different communities of people who share certain beliefs but may not necessarily agree on all issues. So that is why there are certain set of rules are required to govern a country. Just like I gave you the example of a football game and a cricket match. Yes, for football and cricket, you need to have a certain set of rules, then only you can play that rule. If there are no rules, it will be very difficult to play that rule. Similarly, I spoke to you about making rules in classroom and having some rules at home also. Yes, if we don't follow these rules, it will be very difficult for us to maintain the decorum and discipline in the school and maintain a healthy life in our personal lives. Okay, we've already looked at this part. Also, we discussed about in the last class, we discussed about in the year 2006 how democracy emerged in Nepal. Earlier, before 2006, they had a monarchical form of a government which the people were not very happy with, and they have been rebelling and they have been voicing out their opinion repeatedly by rebelling again and again that they wanted democracy in Nepal. Okay, here this example here shows that a people's movement in Nepal was fought for several decades to establish democracy. Finally, in the year 2006, they finally succeeded in putting an end to the powers of the king. When you have the king and queen, then it means that it is a monarchical form of government. Now the people have to write a new constitution to establish the Nepal as a democracy. Why do you think they need to write a new constitution? Anyone, quickly. Earlier they had a monarchical form of government. Now
Ma'am,
they are
because
having, yeah.
Ma'am, because the kings has set the rules, people not like that. So the which rules people like can so
Correct.
it
Very
can be
true.
mentioned in the.
Very true. Very true. So now the government, the type of government has changed to democracy. So the rules will apply as per the people's ideals and likings, isn't it? So that is how a new constitution is required to be written for the country of Nepal. Okay, as I have already explained you the rules in a football game. Now the second most important, what when we are talking about the purpose why a country needs a constitution, is to define the nature of country's political system. When I explained you the political system, I have explained democratic form of a government, I have explained you a republican form of a government, I have explained you a theocratic form of a government, I have explained you a pure democracy, I explained you the difference between a direct or pure democracy and a parliamentary democracy. Just like in India, we have a parliamentary democracy where we have both the ruling and the opposition party, and the role of the opposition party is to find out the flaws in the ruling party. And if people are not happy with the ruling party, then they can give their reason and explanations, and the party will have to step down and re-election has to happen. So that I've already explained you. Then I explained you many other autocratic form of government, monarchical form of
Ma'am,
government.
your voice is not clear.
Ma'am, your voice is buffering.
Okay, I will
Yes,
be
ma'am.
sharing this video. When you
Yes,
watch
ma'am.
the video, you will be able to listen to me. So please replay the video. Okay. Yes. So children, in the last class, I showed you the different forms of different types of governments in different countries. I hope this
Ma'am,
is
your
clear to
voice is
everyone.
breaking.
Ma'am, your voice is not clear.
Now, can you hear me?
Ma'am, you're not audible.